Hi, I am Vanda Crossley with EXP Realty, and I have as my special guest today, Jennifer Barthol. Jennifer, tell me a little bit about you and your business and how you've been able to help some of my friends.
Well, I've been in the financial services business for about 25 years. By vocation, I am a paralegal, graduated in 1993 from Long Island University in Brooklyn, New York. And it was 5 years later that I got into the legal side of things, working with an estate planning attorney, and I assisted in executing and notarizing legal documents. So I've done that for yeah, for the better of, I guess, 20 years or so. But I've been in financial services for about 25 years, just
So the
about.
legal documents that you notarize, they're like
Mhm.
what?
Well, the attorney specialize in living trust, mostly the revocable living trust, which comes with ancillary documents like the wills, the powers of attorney, living will, which is different from a will. Most people confuse the two sometimes, but it's a pretty neat package where one can do estate planning with a revocable living trust. But only an attorney. May I preface by saying that I'm a non-attorney spokesperson. Paralegal is not an attorney, so I cannot give legal advice, and also I cannot give tax advice. Yeah.
So the benefit of using you versus going to an attorney is what?
Mm. Well, if one needs a revocable living trust or any type of trust, advanced estate planning, we call that, they should consult an attorney. My function is to assist the client in how the assets should be held in the trust from the financial standpoint.
Can you give me an example of that?
Okay, say for example, someone has a revocable living trust and they have assets such as a home. They will have a deed, automobiles, or they may have a vacation home. They have personal property. They may have business interests. My function is to assist them in placing those items the way they should be placed in the living trust. Because many times when people set up a trust or even a will, they will name beneficiaries. So my function really is to take all of the data that the client gives me, by asking questions. There is an estate planning questionnaire, and depending on how they answer, it will assist me to help to assist them to place those assets in the trust the proper way.
Oh, okay. So do you have to have a lot of money or a lot of assets to have a trust? Because typically, when I grew up, people that had trust
Uh-huh.
funds, they had money, a lot of
Yes.
money. And so I'm like, a lot of people I know don't have a trust. They know of a will, but they don't know of
Uh-huh.
a trust.
Well, from my experience with my clients, a lot of them didn't have a lot of money. Uh, Many times they basically owned a home and perhaps a 401k from the job, savings, CDs, that sort of thing. But they don't necessarily have to have a lot of money for a trust. But again, they should consult their attorney, and it doesn't necessarily have to be an estate planning attorney. Many of these other attorneys, real estate attorneys, probate attorneys, they know some of estate planning, depending on where this person lives, and they can approach that individual. For example, if they live in a small town, they may not have an estate planning attorney per se, but their general attorney will be able to guide them, at least in that direction.
Okay. So one of the new things that's come out new in Texas, it used to be called the Lady Bird law, where but now it's called death deed on death, where they can give a family member, or it doesn't have to
Mhm,
be a family member, their
mhm,
house. It's like the deed to their house when they die, which will take it out of probate, and the family won't be fighting over it, or the siblings won't be fighting over it. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, the TODD, TODD, basically the transfer on death deed.
Yeah.
It's an easier way of bypassing probate, because when one does that during their lifetime, when the person dies, that property is passed on to whoever the beneficiary is. Yes.
And that can be
So,
revoked if they change their mind, as long as they're
oh,
alive.
of course, yes, it can be changed during their lifetime. Yes. Uh, I just may add that God forbid the beneficiary doesn't survive the person who is transferring the property. The owner can change that, but they have to have lived at least 5 days, at least in the state of Texas. They have to have survived 5 days after, yeah, the person dies, to be
Oh,
able to, for it to be in their estate.
oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Mhm. Yeah,
And then that's something that can be done without, say, without you or without an attorney, because you can download the form online as long as you
absolutely.
file it with your county
Right. It
and
must be,
say,
notarized.
yeah,
Yeah.
notarize. You are a notary.
Yes.
Yes. So you can notarize it and then they can take it and file it. I think it's $35 depending on what county they're in
Yes.
and get that
Mhm.
done. Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to tell us that you do?
Um, well, most people have wills. Unfortunately, 70% of Americans do not have wills. This is something that I don't know if they are basically afraid of doing it, but you
They
have
think they're going
wills.
to die. They think they're going to die when they do the will. Nobody ever thinks they're going to die.
Yeah,
Oh,
they plan for birthdays, anniversaries, weddings,
you know,
baptisms. But when it comes to death planning, estate planning is really death planning. And by definition, estate means that you own something, and everyone has an estate. And planning is basically putting things in order, depending on what your goals and what your intent is. So estate planning is something that's systematic and that everyone should do once they reach the age of emancipation. So, but getting back to the subject, there is will-centered planning, and then there is estate planning. I'm sorry. There's will-centered will-centered estate planning and trust-centered estate planning. Um, One should consult, like as I said before, an attorney, whether or not they need a trust, but estate planning should be done, whether it's by a will or by trust. So I would like, just to share that. Yeah.
well, if somebody had one done in another state
Mhm.
and they relocated to Texas,
Uh-huh.
do they need to do another one for Texas, or is the one they did in New York, California, wherever, is it okay?
Great question, Vanda. Um, if you are domiciled, the law says if you're living here more than 30 days, you are really domiciled in that state. So the will that you executed in another state uh, doesn't necessarily become void altogether. It all depends. You may still have property in that state, but it should be centered around the state of domicile.
Okay.
So if you're in Texas, you should. Yeah.
Okay, well, we have to talk, so
Okay.
gotta get
Oh,
more.
and it just occurred to me that Texas being a community property state, many people don't know that all community property states, it's not a cookie cutter. For example, if you own property before marriage in the state of Texas and you marry, that property is still yours. Even though you are in a community property state. But if the property is income producing, for example, say you rent the home, the income in the state of Texas is community property, but in the state of California, the income is not community property. So it varies. I wish it was standardized,
I
but
know
it's it's not.
everybody
It's
has their
not.
own thing. In Texas, Texas is a country in itself. You know, it's really different down here. Well, how can we get in touch with you, Jennifer?
To my cell, which is the fastest way. It's 832-444-6160. Again, 444-6160, area code 832. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, Jennifer. I appreciate your time today, and I'm sure you've helped some people along the way.
I
So,
hope I did, Vanda.
yes,
Thanks for having me.
thank you. So,
You're
guys
welcome.
listening, be sure to like and subscribe to my channel for more interesting interviews with people like Jennifer. Thank you.
Thank you, Vanda.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Now, I just got to figure out how to stop the recording and then put my glasses back on, but I'll cut that part out.
Right, you may have to edit that.
Yeah, because I'm still recording. Oh, there we go.
Okay, and send it to me so I